Hello, beautiful people. My name is Funke Akinlebelo, and you're watching This Nigeria. Keep watching.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Newspaper Review on This Nigeria. My name is Femi Okunlaya, and this morning I'll be taking stories from different dailies. I'll start with This Nigeria newspaper, Punch newspaper, The Nation, This Day, Nigerian Tribune, and New Telegraph. The headlines, looking at the headlines of This Nigeria newspaper first and foremost, we'll check the headlines for This Nigeria newspaper. Federal government, South Africa laments unfair treatment of Nigerians, Africans at the Ukraine-Poland border. We're talking about 2023 presidential election race. Odds favor South to fly APC, PDP tickets. Yahaya Bello, Atiku, other Northerners strategize. Wike, outcome of PDP primaries will shock many. Another headlines for This Nigeria newspaper: over $2 billion Nigeria-Russia value trade at risk. Another story talking about the fuel scarcity, NSCDC to close outlets over Odin. Why we are shutting down varsities, Sani. And now we move to the Punch newspaper headlines. And the Punch newspaper headline: fuel scarcity may persist, oil vessels face delay on sea. Another story that caught attention on the Punch newspaper headline: PDP ticket, Wike attacks ex-Vice President Atiku. Gunmen kill 17, abduct 57 in Niger, Kaduna attacks. APC wins Ondo, Imo, Cross River by-election. AGF DSS appeal Igbo's 20 billion naira judgment. And now we'll take some headlines from the Nation newspaper. On 2023, INEC polls timeline creates anxiety in APC and PDP. PDP ticket, Wike attacks ex-Vice President Atiku. This day newspaper headlines: Ukraine, Putin puts nuclear deterrent forces on high alert. On this day newspaper headline: Ukraine, Putin puts nuclear deterrent forces on high alert. And also another story: current APC zoning formula not sacrosanct, says governor. Now move to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Federal government confirms 4,000 Nigerians stranded in Ukraine, demands their safe passage. Federal government confirms 4,000 Nigerians stranded in Ukraine, demands their safe passage. And also appeal court ruling upsets NJC decisions on Onogen over 1,000 ex-judges. And also 2023 poll timetable: APC, PDP, SDP, ACF, lawyers express worry, readiness for election. And now we go to the New Telegraph headlines 2023, still talking about politics. Don't disgrace yourself by joining APC, Sergey tells Jonathan. In 2023, don't disgrace yourself by joining APC, Sergey tells Jonathan. And where Nigerian backs Ukraine over Russian invasion. Another headline: company tax, bank, financial institutions pay 651.19 billion naira. Now we'll go back to This Nigeria newspaper, where we need to take the headlines again before going through some of the stories. 2023 presidential race: odds favor South to fly APC, PDP tickets. Yahaya Bello, Atiku, other Northerners strategize. Wike, outcome of PDP primaries will shock many. And also federal government, South Africa laments unfair treatment of Nigerians at the African-Ukraine-Poland border. Now we'll go to page 4 of This Nigeria newspaper, talking about the presidential ticket in 2023. Odds favor South to fly APC, PDP tickets. In yet another chance in the nation's history, it appears now that the odds favor the South to produce the president in 2023. But that, pundits say, depends on the deftness with which forces from the south managed the fallout on internal contradictions tearing the soul of the geopolitical zones. The south on advantage in the present run follows the recent zoning of the national chairmanship of the ruling party, All Progressives Congress (APC), to the North Central. The major opposition People's Democratic Party had earlier zoned the same ticket to the North Central, which produced Dr. Iyocha. You can get more of that story from page 4 of this Nigerian newspaper. Another interesting headlines where we look at is on page 23 of this Nigeria newspaper headline this morning. Federal government, South Africa laments unfair treatment of Nigerians, Africans at the Ukraine-Poland border. The presidency yesterday night expressed concern over the plight of some Nigerians in Ukraine and called on the authorities of the country to treat Nigerian citizens in the country with dignity. The presidency, in statement issued by the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, expressed worry over the treatment meted out to Nigerian citizens. You can get more of that story from the headlines of this Nigerian newspaper. And now another headlines we are going to be treating this morning that is trending is why we are shutting down varsities, SANU. If you go to page 4 of this Nigeria newspaper, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, yesterday said it will soon shut down universities due to the failure of the federal government to honor the memorandum of action signed with the union. SANU said it has been reluctant to resume its suspended strike because of its effect on students, university education, and the parents regretting that the federal government was forcing the union to down tools. You can get more of that story from page 4 of this Nigerian newspaper. And now another story we're taking this morning is going to be seen at page 5 of this Nigerian newspaper. Constitutional amendment, NLC storms National Assembly over autonomy for local government judiciary. As the National Assembly reconvenes tomorrow for the clause-by-clause consideration of the 1999 Constitution amendments, Nigerians are expecting different opinions on immunity, consensus, independent candidacy, among others. This came just as the Nigeria Labour Congress said it will storm the National Assembly to demand autonomy for the local governments and the judiciary. The notification for the actions was contained in a press statement by the NLC President Ayuba Waba over the weekend and made available to our correspondent in Abuja. You can get more of that story from this Nigeria newspaper. And lastly, another story we're going to take this morning: fuel scarcity, NSCDC to close outlet over Odin. Page 23 of the paper this morning: fuel scarcity, NSCDC to close outlets over Odin. Nigeria's Security and Civil Defense Corps has said it will shut down any fuel station that odds fuel or sell above the official pump price anywhere in Oyo State. The Oyo State Command of NSCDC, Michael Adaralewa, said this in Ibadan yesterday. He said this as the fuel situation in Ibadan continues to grow worse. Speaking with journalists, Adaralewa said the agency would not allow fuel marketers to continue to rip off consumers. He also said his men would monitor filling stations to make sure Nigerians were no longer shortchanged. You can get more of that story from this Nigerian newspaper headline. I'll take the headlines for this Nigerian newspaper again before we call it a day. For today's newspaper on This Nigeria, constitutional amendments, NLC's storm NAS over autonomy for local government judiciary. 2023 presidential race, odds favor South to fly APC PDP tickets, and over $2 billion Nigerian Russia valued trade at risk. On fuel scarcity, NSCDC to close outlets over Odin. And from why we are shutting down varsities, says SAN. Federal government, South Africa, laments unfair treatment of Nigerians, Africans at the Ukraine-Poland border. And that's a wrap-up of the newspaper review on This Nigeria. I took stories from the Punch newspaper, The Nation, This Day, Nigerian Tribune, New Telegraph, and This Nigeria newspaper. Join me again next week for another edition of Newspaper Review on This Nigeria. My name is Femi Okunlaya. Have a wonderful day.